I'm currently on the journey to build a $1 million online business, and journey is truly the only way I can describe it. I expected that growing my business would be a lot of hard work, tough decisions, and at least a few late nights. But what has surprised me the most is what a journey of personal growth it's turned out to be. In fact, I'd go as far as saying that the lessons I've learned from my entrepreneurial failures have been as valuable as the rewards I've received from the successes. And in this new series, 0 to 1 million, I'm sharing those lessons with you. This first season of 3 episodes focuses on the lessons I learned as I struggled to earn my first $1,000. Now, while this was the smallest increment of money compared to later going on to earning $10,000, $100,000, $500,000, and then $1 million, it actually took me the longest amount of time to earn that first $1,000. Now, I attribute that to 2 causes. First, getting momentum to go from the standstill of 0 to earning anything at all is tough. And second, I did everything wrong. I'm what people like to call a multi-passionate entrepreneur, which is a cute way of saying that I have way too many ideas and I'm not very good at sticking to any of them. If you can relate, then you can relate. Every new idea seems like my best idea yet, and I'm full of passion and enthusiasm for it. Until the next idea comes around and I lose interest in the first. But entrepreneurship is a long game. Building a business takes continued effort, consistency, and patience. So this erratic behavior made it really tough for me to see any idea through to the point that they actually started earning any real profits. Which, as you could imagine, was incredibly frustrating and made me feel like an absolute failure as an entrepreneur. And I doubted that things would ever change, since it seemed to be an intrinsic part of who I am. Spoiler alert, eventually I did figure out how to settle down and focus on just one thing, enabling me to build my audience, build my skill, and build my clout in one specific industry. I went from a wannabe with a bad case of entrepreneurial ADD to a successful, focused business owner. My hope is that by sharing my story, you'll find some inspiration and ideas for how you might be able to overcome this challenge yourself. Whether to make that initial decision to choose your niche and decide what business to start, or to refine your business to focus more on one area of specialty. I first started blogging way back in 2012, and at first I was incredibly inconsistent and scattered. I would write for one topic for a few days, weeks, or maybe a couple months, and then I would completely lose interest and switch to an entirely different topic. I don't know if maybe you can relate to this. Maybe you have tried to start a business only to lose interest in it after a short period of time, or maybe you've started a blog or a YouTube channel, or maybe you started writing a book about a topic, but then you came up with a new idea and that new idea was just so much sparklier. Well, that was me from about 2012 all the way up through the beginning of 2017. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, the fact that I kept switching topics over and over again meant that I was never able to get any real momentum with my blog, or build up my readership, or start making money with it, or turn it into a real business. But I didn't know what to do because I just kept having different ideas. At one point in 2016, I even wrote an entire book on a topic that I was interested in on a whim, and then I blogged about that topic for the next year, only to once again change my mind about what I actually wanted to write about. Finally, when absolutely nothing else worked, I decided to just give in and give myself a lot of freedom. I created my website that was my own name, GillianPerkins.com, so that instead of focusing on one specific topic, I could just have freedom to write about whatever I felt like writing about. However, I did give myself one rule, and that was that I would write a blog post every single week. Every Monday, I sat down and I wrote about something, whatever was most interesting to me at that point in time. Very quickly, a trend started to emerge, and I noticed that there was one topic that I kept coming back to over and over again. Now, in retrospect, it's not really that surprising. The topic that I wanted to write about was blogging and marketing and entrepreneurship. Basically, the struggle that I had been facing for the last several years, and the thing that had kept my focus. I wanted to start a blog, I wanted to start a business, and I wanted to figure out how to market whatever business I did start. I hadn't noticed that that was the thing I was the most focused on because I was so focused on what the business itself would do. When I noticed this, I didn't immediately try to force myself to only write about that topic, even though I was really interested in it. I just continued to give myself that freedom. But the more I wrote, the more interested I became in that topic. Because the more I wrote, the more I also did research, and the more I learned about that topic, and the more fascinating it became to me. Eventually, my blog articles on GillianPerkins.com gave way to YouTube videos here on this channel, and I ended up building my entire company around that topic. But it was only by first giving myself that freedom to explore different topics and the structure of writing consistently every single week that I was finally able to figure that out. Now, I really don't want you to think that I'm saying that this is how everyone needs to figure the answer to this challenge out. That if you don't know what your blog or YouTube channel should be about, or you're not sure what business to start, that you have to go about it this way, because that's absolutely not what I'm saying at all. This is what happened to work for me, but there are lots of different ways that you could figure it out and still kind of learn from what I did here that did work. And what I mean by that is I had this balance of, on the one hand, giving myself some freedom to experiment, and on the other hand, giving myself some structure to make sure that I was actually putting in some effort and doing the work that I needed to do to figure it out. So a few different ways that you could do this for yourself might look like maybe creating a prototype of a product you're thinking about, or starting a YouTube channel and just committing to sticking with it for the next 3 months. Or deciding to create a website or create a business around something that you're interested in. Maybe you see a project through to completion, or you stay consistent for a certain period of time. By doing that, you can hold yourself accountable so that you're not just being a quitter, but still give yourself an out so that you don't feel trapped for the long term if you end up changing your mind about what you really want to do. If you're trying to figure this out for yourself, then here's another tip. Play it safe. Don't go all in. Don't quit your day job. Don't invest your life savings on an unproven idea. First, take it for a test drive. You need to validate your idea before you go all in like that. And so what that means is you need to try out your business. You need to do a beta launch. You need to ask people if they're interested in the product you're selling. You need to try out your YouTube channel and post videos for a few months and see what comes of it. Only when you actually start to see some progress and you start to get momentum would I recommend that you go all in like that. Now, when you do see that progress, of course, that's very exciting and you will want to go all in. And I would highly recommend that you do, because you will be able to create much bigger results when you are fully invested. And I don't just mean your money, I mean your time and your energy as well. But I don't want you to do that too early, because if you are investing time, money, and energy into an unproven idea, that is a huge risk and essentially a gamble. Here's one more little piece of advice if you're trying to figure this out. Have grace with yourself. I want you to know that every successful entrepreneur was at one point in time exactly where you are right now. At one point in time, they didn't know where they wanted to be or what they wanted to be when they grew up, but every single successful entrepreneur eventually figured that out. And I know that you can too, but just know that you're not alone and you can figure it out as well. Let's wrap this up with 4 quick action steps so that you can put what you just learned in this video into practice. My first action step for you is to brainstorm all of the different ideas that you're considering. If you're thinking about starting a blog or YouTube channel, write down all those different topics or ideas you have. If you're thinking about starting a business, write all those ideas down. You need to get them all out of your brain and on paper so that you can process them more objectively. And when I say on paper, I mean that. Don't just try to think of all the ideas. Actually get them out and write them on paper. Once you've done that, then do action step number 2. Sit with them for a few days. You need to give yourself some time to process them. And you can help the process along by processing them externally. You can do that by journaling about them or talking to a friend about them. This is going to help you figure out how you really feel about them and also help you to work out some of the pros and cons. After a few days, it comes time to make a decision. Now, you might not know what you want to do long term yet, but there should be one or two ideas that are standing out to you that you are more interested in. So you just need to bite the bullet and pick one to take for a test drive for the next 3 months. I find that 3 months is a really good period of time where there is an opportunity to actually make some significant progress, while at the same time not having it be too much time to where you feel overcommitted and you can't stick with it. After 3 months, you probably won't have achieved your grand vision for the goal, but you'll be able to tell whether you're seeing any progress at all. And if you see any progress at all and you're still interested in the idea, then that is a really positive sign, and if you want to keep going, then you definitely can. So action step number 3 is to commit to one of those ideas for a limited season. Action step number 4 is to make a plan for exactly how you're going to carry that out. What are you going to do to get this idea started? What are you going to do on a daily or weekly basis to keep it going? And what will you do at the end of that limited season? How are you going to determine whether or not your test was successful? By following these 4 action steps, I know that you will be a huge step closer to figuring out exactly what you want to focus on, whether that is choosing your business idea, choosing the topic of your YouTube channel or blog, or just deciding how you want to specialize with your existing business. Hey there, and thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. My name is Gillian Perkins, and I'm so happy to have you here on my channel today. If you enjoyed this video and you want to tune into the next episode of this series that we're doing right now, 0 to 1 million, then I would love to have you do that. You can subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell down below to get notified when that next episode is posted. Until then, I hope that you have an amazing week, and I'll see you back here again next time.